to episode 2 of Let Me Finish. My name is Figure 8. I gotta stop doing this weird inflection thing with my voice, like every sentence is a question. That's what I do when I get nervous. I think I'm gonna start every episode with correcting things I got wrong in the previous episode as I continue to do research. And I said that Nick amicably left the fish around, 2016, but my early timeline was actually super incorrect. So 2016, like for sure Noise from the Void existed, but I think just that the name of the Antelope Fishermen was kind of floating around. I'm trying to do as much research as I can to find exact times, but roughly from what I've learned now, 2016, I spent most of that time making a pretty horrible mixtape, still under the previous moniker of Grim's Knob. And the Antelope Fisherman was kind of just like an idea, and I was searching through everything I could on Facebook and Instagram and our photos and stuff. It doesn't seem like we took it seriously enough to even call it have a group chat or any of that stuff, and that might be because everyone who was a part of the fish was either living in the house in Troutdale that Ned, Chris, and Gareth had, or we were staying there almost every night. So I think it wasn't like a concrete idea, but in 2016 I recorded and released this horrible mixtape still under Crim's Knob, but I remember playing it in that Troutdale house for the fish and talking to everybody about it. And then shortly after that, we started to become the Antelope Fishermen. Nick moved out here from Michigan out to Portland, and he bought me a feature from Bill Saber. There was this Pigeons and Planes article, and I believe Pigeons and Planes is like a subsidiary of Complex, but it's just like a blog, like an online type XXL media outlet, and it was like rappers that make your ears bleed, and there was a dude who had his locks styled as horns. His name was Bill Saber, or is Bill Saber, and Nick reached out and bought a feature from him for, I think it was only like $75 at the time, because we saw him in this thing, and we saw he commented on the Facebook post from Pigeons and Planes, and he was like, I don't think I'll make your ears bleed, but I appreciate the recognition. And we messaged him from there, and I think he got it for $75, and it was a song called Ballin', back when we were only releasing on SoundCloud at the time. And it did like 1,000 plays in the first day, which was incredible for us. And then about a week or two later, it jumped up to 2,000, and then a couple days after that, 7,000, and then out of nowhere, it was at like 35,000. We were hitting refresh on the page, and it would jump up 1,000 at the time. It was awesome for us very, very early on. But the first appearance of the Antelope Fishermen in my messages is me asking some of my friends in Michigan if they wanted to join. And it was around the beginning of 2017. 2017 was kind of, I would say, the first year in which we decided we were a group and asked people to join and that kind of thing. But what's crazy is one of the things we hate the most now that we've been around for so long, have played hundreds of shows and all this bullshit. When we appear on a flyer or someone makes a post about us and it says the Antelope Fisherman instead of men, like there's not 30 of us, we get so pissed. It's so annoying. And the first 5 or 6 messages I sent to anybody about the group, I said Fisherman. So it could be my fault, or at least I have a better understanding as to why people do it. But yeah, so anyway, I worked all of 2017 on a solo project pretty much, and I think probably I also got married during this year, which was wild. I think I was 20 at the time, and we were divorced before I was 21, just before I was 21. So, but while I was married, and it was to Nick's sister, one of the founding members of both my groups that I had, right after I think we got married, I got a message from someone I went to high school with. So I released my first music video, I guess technically. Gareth recorded it on his phone. It's one take. We made it black and white. And we hung up an I assure you we're open sheet that we painted on with oil, just like the beginning of Clerks. That little part where Dante goes into work and can't get the shutters up, so he has to assure his customers he's open. And it was really bad. Song's really bad. Every part of it's pretty bad. And this guy I went to high school with that I never really hung out with, I'm not even sure we talked. I had beef with one of his friends, so I saw him around, but me and him never discussed anything, never had any problems. But he and a dude that I was on the basketball team with in high school had started making music together. And when he saw that video and saw I was at least taking myself seriously and kept rapping beyond high school, he messaged me and asked to do a song. And that was Ellis. Ellis and Muffin. So I always lump Ellis in with the founders of The Fish, even though technically he wasn't there at its inception. It was very, very quickly he was the only other actual vocalist we worked with. One day I got a message from him saying, hey, we're driving across the country right now. We'll be in Portland on these days. Is there any way we can set up a tent in your backyard and stay there? Which is wild. That was one of the first moments where we really felt like a rap group to me, because it was just like, oh, this guy's driving across the country to sleep in our backyard, record with me in my shed. Like it felt like I was actually living the life we were working towards a little bit more. And they got there, and they're both really quiet dudes. So it was an interesting time. I couldn't tell if they liked us or not. And Ellis mixed, which we were pretty terrible at. So, I mean, he was too back then, but he was much, much, much better than us. So at the time he was here, we started some work on my project I was doing, and I did a feature or two for him, I think. And then he went back to Michigan. Him and Muffin went back. But we would send them the stuff we were working on to mix, and I would ask him for help with our covers and some stuff like that when he was really early on into figuring that stuff out. And that's when we started Strange Places, which is a really, again, terrible solo project for me that I worked on. But it's the first thing on Facebook, which is pretty much the primary social media we used in the beginning. The first appearance of the Antelope Fishermen on like a link that's released is this solo project's Strange Places that I did. It says executive produced by the Antelope Fishermen. So I almost feel like at the time it was like Figure 8 and the Antelope Fishermen. They were like the team of behind the scenes thing, and I was like a member of it, but I was like a separate entity because there was no one else to release music. They just made the stuff. So I spent most of the year working on that. A lot of the beats were from Tag and Andrew, and then a couple were just people that I had met and asked if I could have something. I believe this album is completely deleted from the internet, I hope, but it is it does mean something to me because that's the first thing we did. Ellis mixed it, and we were sending him the stuff from here to do it. I don't even think he asked for money. I think he offered to do it. It was just, we were all just trying to do something as these idiot kids that didn't even think to Google what is the best way to go about this or to start making a music video or to record. Like, we were so dumb and not very bright. We were just passionate. And I think, honestly, that's the most important part as to why we've survived so long, is we were never just trying to do this correctly. We were never trying to do it by the books or mathematically. We were just trying. And so we worked on Strange Places for quite some time. And then before I moved out here, I recorded in Michigan at a couple of studios that I would find along the way, but I had a rough time. And then eventually, when I was homeless, our friend DJ, who was essentially a big part of Crim Snob, built me a studio in a trailer that his dad had on their like junkyard lot. And he passed away right before Strange Places came out. So I ended up going back to Michigan for a little bit, and that kind of put a pause on the work I was doing for sure. But right when I got back, I kind of recollected, and then we pushed that tape out at the end of 2016, or at the end of 2017. And then during that time, we didn't do any shows whatsoever. I don't think we shot another music video. I don't think we released anything other than that project and Ballin'. Yeah, it's just we were the most productive and unproductive group in the world. Like, I feel like we spent minimum of 40 hours a week working on music, and we still have nothing to show for all that time. Like, the little things we did are, I know everyone says their early stuff's bad. I've heard people's early stuff that's not good, but it's listenable. We were making things that were just, we didn't have anyone to show. We didn't have anything to perform or present it to people. I didn't even know how to push it. Most of us just had jobs, and the people at our works kind of thought they were funny and terrible. Like, it's embarrassing now looking back on it, but obviously it helped us get to where we are. But I'm pretty sure that's it for 2016. We met each other, started to create the music. I finished that stupid tape that will remain nameless. And that was the death of Crim's Knob for sure. But that was just how I started working on that mixtape as Crim's Knob, so I finished that out. And then it immediately we started work on Strange Places, but it didn't come out until 2017, the end of 2017, I believe. And that is when the group really took form as a group, I would say. After that, we didn't add anyone beyond Ellis and Muffin for the first two years, but 2017 was for sure a bit more eventful. I think here, I did want to read this. I listened to part of Strange Places. I found deep in the archives, and it's all horrible, but I do think there's a poem on the cover that I think is the best part of the entire album, and it says, I've walked into doors that led to strange places, but they all left me anxious and unsatisfied. Things are foreign to me in a way I can't explain. The warmth of a fire becomes clear in the presence of flame, even though we both know fire isn't cold, and love isn't something that could be bought or sold. These are the things we carry till old. The breeze across the ocean, the changing of the leaves, the air in my lungs. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There never has been. But I'm not afraid of the dark. Doors that open to strange places stay the same. I'm just glad I turned the knob. That's pretty corny and not as intelligent as I thought it was, but it for sure was, I think, an important creative part of the process for me during that time, because I was so hyper-focused on rhyming and rap battles and sounding so robotic and technical, and I wasn't even making songs. There certainly wasn't like real poetry there. So to break free from the over rhyming and start doing that, I wrote that at the end of the album. So I think that was the beginning of me being able to actually craft something from a creative space that wasn't so sportsman-like. But yeah, that was 2016 in a nutshell. I know I said I'd like these episodes or these seasons to be for each year, and I'm sure there's more stories in there of 2016 I could tell, but I don't think our group was established enough to make it that important. A lot of that year was just us growing close as friends and learning how to record, how to rap in a booth, how to work together, how to make beats. There were no like landmark events that we'd never posted on Facebook. Hey, we're the Antelope Fishermen. The first appearance on Facebook, again, it's just me saying they executive produced my album in 2017. So we didn't take ourselves seriously as a group until just after that. So I do think there is more we could maybe come back and revisit later, but it feels like if we move on to 2017 to 2018 after this, it's going to be a lot more for me to talk about. So I'm going to call that the end of this episode. And as always, before you interrupt, let me finish.